What's up, everybody? I bet you're wondering, what are some of my favorite heavyweight fights of all time? I would have to say, looking back, the fight that really got me interested in watching real boxing, because I grew up watching the Rocky movies, but was, believe it or not, it was a fight that a lot of people considered a lackluster fight, and that was the Evander Holyfield Larry Holmes fight. I thought it was a pretty good fight. Had drama. Holyfield had a bad cut, and the thing that I liked about it, which surprised me, is you could hear the punches like the Rocky movie. You know, every time Holyfield would connect to Larry Holmes and Larry would connect to him, you'd hear it. I was like, wow. I guess because they have the mics, on the ring post. But that's what really got me into watching it. And then Lennox Lewis, Razor Ruddock. Still remember that. And I picked Lennox Lewis to win that. A lot of people thought Razor Ruddock was the power guy. You saw it happen. Lennox blew him out in 2 rounds. Exciting fight. Not long, but exciting. And the winner of that was supposed to fight the winner of Bo Holyfield. And man, what a fight that was. 12 rounds. Holyfield got knocked down towards the end, came back, wobbled Bo, almost got him out of there. It was just an action-packed night. The family sitting around watching it on a pay-per-view. And you even had the little confrontation at the end with Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis. Riddick Bowe came up to Lennox Lewis, and it was just great to watch. I mean, we were all hyped about that. And yeah, like I said, the winner of that was supposed to fight Lewis, but it didn't happen. Both threw his belts in the trash rather than face Lewis, who had beat him in the Olympics in 2 rounds. You'd think he'd want revenge, but he didn't really want that smoke. He was just talking a good game. I mean, he's still mad at Lewis now. I mean, he tried to get into it with him recently at some function. I mean, Lewis still is in great shape. He could have slapped Bo around if he wanted to, but he showed him pity. I think he said he felt sorry for him. But that was a great fight, and all the Bo Holyfield fights. The second, where Evander Holyfield hired Emmanuel Stewart, went in there, beat Bo, had the parachute guy come in, and it gave Holyfield a rest because I think he said he was starting to get fatigued, so they gave him a rest. Went in there, beat Bo. Close fight, but he beat Bo. Action-packed fight, outdoors in Las Vegas. Man, great fight. Then we had the third Riddick Bowe Holyfield fight. People were kind of tired of the trilogy at that point. They thought, you know what, these guys just trying to fight each other and, close everybody else out, kind of like what some people were saying about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. They're talking about a trilogy. They're like, what are you guys trying to keep everybody else out? But that third fight was crazy because Holyfield was tired, and then he comes out of nowhere and just lays Bo out with a hook. But he didn't have the energy to finish him, so Bo ended up winning, but it was more of Holyfield's fatigue than Bo's fighting. But action-packed fight. Go back and watch those on YouTube. I got them all on DVD, VHS. You can watch them on YouTube. I used to tape everything boxing, even the press conferences. And then, let's see, Bo Galata. Man. Galata could fight. He didn't have the biggest heart, but that dude could fight. I mean, me and my homie were watching it, and Galata missed a punch, and my buddy said, hey, did you hear that? You could actually hear the air from him missing the punch. Galata was rough. He roughed Bo up like nobody else, but he couldn't stop hitting below the belt. I mean, he just kept doing it. His corner would say, hey, don't hit no more body shots. Goes right in there, hits a body shot. Riot happens. I think it was at Madison Square Garden in New York. Riot happens. People throwing chairs and police getting punched and Lou Duva on a stretcher almost falling off. Man, those were some times in the 90s, man. That riot was so hilarious. I remember Jim Lampley looked like he was way up in the nosebleeds trying to escape the ruckus. And George Foreman was protecting him. He thanked Big George for protecting him. But that night was hilarious. I watched that riot so many times, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And it would have been even crazier to have been there. But the 90s had some real good fights. Lewis, Ray Mercer, Madison Square Garden, that was a trilogy. Tim Witherspoon went in there. blasted Jorge Gonzalez, had the hair on the back of his head, just slapping him around in the face. Then it was Lewis and Ray Mercer. Man, that was back and forth. That was close. A lot of people thought Ray Mercer won that fight, but I thought Lewis pulled it out, you know. It was real close, though. That's the worst anyone's ever messed up Lewis's face, because Ray Mercer was shorter, but he had, I think, a longer reach if you measure from armpit to fist. So he was jabbing with Lewis, and Lewis wasn't used to that. So that was a rough fight. And it showed that Lewis had a chin, because people thought after the Oliver McCall fight that, you know, his chin was suspect. But it was a great fight. Just go back and look at those. Then the Holyfield Bobby Chaz fight, where Bobby Chaz acted like he had an eye injury, told his corner something. His corner said, no, it's your eye. So he acted like he couldn't see. It's like, Bobby Chaz, you say you're in Mensa, and that's an organization for intelligent people, but don't take your audience for idiots, because we heard what you said. You faked that injury. We still remember. Anyway, that was one of the times Holyfield actually fought a heavyweight that was smaller than him, because Bobby Chaz, I believe, moved up from cruiserweight. But go back and check those fights out. Those were exciting. I was in Lennox Lewis's big fight when he came back against Lionel Butler in Sacramento, California. I drove all the way up from San Diego, drove back the same night. But it was exciting. Got beat up Lionel Butler. That was his first fight after losing to McCall. Beat him. Just cleaned out the heavyweights in America. I went to the fight where he fought Oliver McCall, and he had a nervous breakdown, was crying in the ring. And I actually got invited to the after party, so I went to that, ended up on the Travel Channel, got photos. Jim Lampley, Lennox Lewis, met a lot of people. Frank Maloney's mother, his manager at the time, met them. It was a real fun night. It was like, wow, can't believe this is happening. That was great. Went to that fight, was at Lennox Lewis's last fight against Klitschko at the Staples Center. And boy, that was back and forth. I mean, those guys were going at it. And I think Vitaly Klitschko was actually the better Klitschko out of both fighters. He was awkward and just hard to fight, and gave Lennox Lewis a rough time. And Lewis's interview at the end with Larry Merchant was classic. You could see he's getting annoyed with Larry Merchant. He's like, so I don't know what you're talking about, Larry. It was just hilarious to watch. And not only that, he gave a press conference. I keep trying to find it on YouTube, but no one seems to have it, where he was just hilarious. Lewis was in rare form that night. But I like I said, I'm going with Lewis again. People say Klitschko won that fight. He didn't win, but he did a great job. He had heavy hands, and it was hard for Lewis to fight him, because I think his name was Kirk Johnson, was originally supposed to fight. He's like 6'2". Klitschko was 6'6", 6'7". He said, who was he going to get to find the spar at that time at that height? Heavyweights weren't that tall back then. So it was awkward for him to deal with the guy that was taller than him. So, you know, he dealt with it, cut him up. I mean, the cuts were ugly. Klitschko was trying to keep the fight going after the fight, you know, but it was great. Go back, watch all them fights. I believe that was like 2003 or something like that. The 90s, it carried over. Lewis cleaned out the fighters from the 90s. It was starting on the next generation, but decided to retire. Anyway, check out those fights. Those are some of the fights that I grew up on and love to watch, and still go back and watch from time to time, and you can learn a lot from them, those heavyweights in their heart. You know, they say styles make fights, but more than styles, it's more about hearts make fights. Who's got the biggest heart? No matter what your style is if you got no heart. So go back and check out those fights. Bang the like button. Comment, subscribe, share. Be fearless, J. Roos.